Thank you so much for coming out to the Base Mentor training. I'm really excited to have you all here today. It's awesome. Wherever you're joining us from, I really appreciate it, whether it's late at night or it's 11 o'clock in the morning just before lunchtime. Thank you for coming out. So this training will be maybe about half an hour long or so, depending on how quickly I can get through it. And if you have any questions at any time, please feel free just to put it in the chat. I'll be monitoring that the entire time. As I mentioned, this will be recorded and it will be sent out to everyone afterwards. A lot of our mentors are currently in class right now, or they are sleeping because they're in a time zone that is very far away. Okay, let's get started. Here's the agenda for today. We have some icebreakers, which will be really, really quick. We'll talk about your role as a BASE mentor, then learning more about our students, who the new BASE students are, a little look at academic integrity and some cross-cultural awareness professional development. And then finally, we'll talk briefly about the schedule finalization, and I'll be introducing you to our mentor exclusive group chat, which is new for this term. So to start it off, we have a poll. And so I'm hoping to know how many of you are returning mentors or a new mentor this term. So I'll give that a few moments here. Welcome to the people who just came in. We're just having a poll to see, are you a returning mentor or are you a new mentor? Let me give that 10 more seconds here. All right, here we go. Everyone's responded. Thank you very much. So this is quite interesting to me. I thought it would be a little bit different. It is mostly new mentors here today. That is lovely. So that makes my job a little bit easier. It should be all new information for you, which is exciting. And one returning mentor, that is great. Really glad to have you back. And I think it's going to be an even better term for mentors. It's going to be great. Okay, so let's jump into the icebreaker here. I just want to know a little bit about you. There's only 9 of us here, which is kind of nice. So in the chat, I would love for you to just tell me something interesting about yourself. So I know where all of you live right now because you put that into the Google form. But I would love to know something interesting about yourself. So in the chat, write something totally interesting that, you know, someone wouldn't know about you. So here, I'm going to write that there we go. I put mine in the chat. So throw that in. I'm very curious to know something interesting about you and to learn a bit more about you. And we'll talk a bit later about some ways that we can get to know each other as mentors a little bit later. All right, don't be shy. Send them in the chat. Lucy, a big fan of horror movies. Cool. Yeah, me too. Halloween in a couple of, like a month and a half or so. That's going to be exciting. Perfect. Yang, 5 dogs. What? That's amazing. When we get to talk about the group chat, you have to post your pictures of your dogs. That'll be so lovely. Khan, 2 turtles. You know, I always wanted a pet tortoise. Isn't that weird? I love reptiles, but a tortoise living for 100 years, whew, that's a responsibility. But 2 turtles, that's awesome. Roger, I was a first-year tutor when I was in first year. Wow. That's pretty impressive. That's awesome. Maybe you can let us know, what did you tutor? What were you teaching people? Anybody else? Don't be shy. Throw it in the chat. Roger says, I tutored them. Oh, probably Chem 120, which I took in base. Right, 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 right. Um, yeah, Chem 120. I took that course. That is quite the chemistry course. Aylin, I love taking photos, being a photographer. That is awesome. Yeah. Lots of photographers in base and iBase, like just people just having fun. So I think it'd be really cool for you to meet up with some of our other students and chat with that hobby. Photography is a great hobby and it's so accessible right now. Love it. I'd love for you to share some of your pictures in our group chat. All right. I like cooking and baking. Okay. What's your favorite thing to cook or bake? Chinese cuisines. So vague, but I love it. All right, maybe in person you can cook us some stuff one time. Damien, I love hiking. Perfect. Where is the craziest place you've ever hiked? Like somewhere difficult? I like to play League of Legends. Yeah, a lot of people like to play League of Legends. And maybe if you get a mentee that likes League of Legends, you can tell them, focus on your studies. Don't play too much. Just play in the weekend or something. Because, man, that game's addicting, isn't it? Wow. Cool. Yeah, these are awesome, guys. Thanks for sharing. Feel free if you haven't shared one in the chat to do so, and I'll give you a little shout out there. But that's great. Really just nice, quick way to know you and just a little bit something more personal for you. And like I said, there's a group chat that we'll be talking about later. And so we can discuss more about that soon. Okay, so let's move on to the actual presentation here. Oops. Okay. Yeah, just double checking. Here we go. So your role as a base mentor. This is a really cool program. It is only run once before. So that was last term with our iBase students. So if you were an iBase last term and you're now a UW student and you're a mentor, wow, that's awesome. So thanks for coming back for that. But our iBase mentor program is something completely new. When we had students in person, we had something called the Base Rep Committee, which was a volunteer committee. And that was for base students to volunteer and put on events. And some of you may recognize that. And we had another program for our short-term programs called GEAR, and they were the peer helpers. So our GEAR peer helpers. And those peer helpers went around in the classes with our students and act as mentors in a way, but conversation partners, and they were helping them adjust to life in Canada. It was a really interesting program, and I know someone in here was one of those. And now that we're all virtual, we can't really run either of those programs in their old form, but we've decided to create something that I think is extremely beneficial to our new students, and that is the Base Mentor program. So as you can see, we have one-on-one mentoring, or essentially one-on-one mentoring, between you, a mentor, and our students, the mentees. So if you hear the word mentee, that is the new base students. As you can see, we have 33 mentors, which is wonderful. And we have, as of this morning, we have 37 mentees, although I do expect that number to go up because orientation for base was just this morning and they plugged the base mentor program. And I suspect we will probably have around 45 people, which would be awesome. What that means is some of you may have more than one mentee, and that is just selected based on maybe your time zone and as well as your faculty or program. And hopefully that's okay with you. I know it's really awesome to have more than one mentee as well. We had really good luck with that last term. So what are you doing? You're sharing your knowledge from a peer point of view. This is because as base or iBase graduates, you've gone through the program already and you know why is it difficult? What are you doing there? What are the assignments? How to get through it? What skills that you learned, right? You have so much knowledge that you got just by going through the program, if you realize it or not, that you can share that with a brand new student who doesn't have any of those skills yet. We'll talk a bit about those in a minute. Your commitment. So this is different than iBase, which iBase was just 7 weeks long. So it was pretty short. BASE, as you know, is 4 months long. And because of that, we recognize that you as students often get busier as the semester goes on, right? And we want to reflect that in this program. So we've kind of divided the program into 2 halves. The first half is from tomorrow, September 9th, to October 23rd, which is roughly in the middle of the term. And we're asking that you have 1 hour of commitment to your mentee per week. After October 23rd, it becomes a little bit more casual. So if you are always speaking with your mentee and you have a really, really strong relationship with them, then you can continue that as you see fit. But if you've just been committing that 1 hour per week and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really swamped with my studies, I've got midterms, I've got assignments, then you can let your mentee know, hey, I'm busier now, but if you really need me, just reach out to me whenever, right? And so it's less of a formal commitment and more of like that casual piece. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And so finally, your actual role is you're a positive ambassador for the learning environment in BASE. So as I mentioned, you've all taken BASE or iBase. You all know what goes on in that program, how difficult it is, and how scary it can be as a first-time student. So with your skills that you've learned and your experience that's ingrained inside of you, we want you to reflect that back out to the students, and we want you to encourage these students to succeed. As some of you may know, BASE, especially in the fall, with being 4 months in length, some of the students are thinking, okay, why am I even in this program? They might feel that BASE is more of a reject program or something like that, but that's not the case, right? BASE is there to really uplift students and give them more skills when they enter UW than they would have had if they had just come in by themselves. And I'm hoping that you all recognize that in yourselves. Because when you leave BASE and you graduate and go into UW, you now have friends, you now know your resources, you have new skills, time management skills, studying skills that people coming in from high school, whether they're coming from abroad or they're native to Ontario like myself, they might not have those skills. So you're really in a better place. But sometimes you need to be reminded about that. And that's why you're there. So it's that positive encouragement, that encouragement to succeed in the BASE program, to move forward, to see why they're in this program. That's why you're here. So I spoke a little bit about some of those skills and resources. And I want you to think about what are the resources we can offer our new BASE students. So what is available to them, whether that's at Renniston, in class, or on campus. So right now in the chat, I would love for you to type out some of the resources that we can offer students. Anything that you can remember. Yes, Writing Center, that's a big one. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. What else do we have? Club activities, definitely. Yeah, keep them coming. First year advisor, yes, for sure. The library inside Renison and the printers in the library, online library, yeah, the library website, definitely huge online for sure. What else do we have? International Student Center, yes. Sika, yeah. That's a big one, actually. Cafes around the campus. That's an interesting resource. You're thinking of it from a caffeine point of view. I love it. Or a studying place for sure. Excellent. Um, what about surrounding in classes? What resources do we have with the general base classes? See some stuff with W Store, yeah. Study rooms for sure. Waterloo Fugai, instructors, base mentors, yeah, you guys for sure. Perfect. Anything else? Give it a few more seconds here. W print. Office hours. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Perfect. Okay, if you have more resources, health center, perfect. Keep putting them in because the more resources we know, the better. And I'll be taking all these suggestions and putting them into the email later. So yeah, keep putting them in as you think about them. So let's go over a few of those, right? There's a ton of these. I will mention that a lot of our students are getting taught online, right? So they don't have access to necessarily the physical resources at the moment. As we know, the Waterloo campus is barely open in the fall. And so things such as cafes, such as libraries, those may not actually be as accessible as they normally are to our students. That doesn't mean those resources close completely, right? So for example, our library services, the Waterloo online library services are extremely robust. I use them frequently for my schooling as well and my work at Renison. So students can access those anywhere in the world with their VPN login and basically can do anything that they can as if they had just stepped into the library. As we know, the Center for Excellence in Career Action, the Writing Center is huge. The Student Success Office, right? Both of those, Writing Center and SSO, are there to help build skills for students as they go through their academic journey. And that is also for you, right? I hope that some of you saw a resource in that list that you had never seen before, and you're going to go look at it because things such as the Writing Center, they don't edit your papers for you, but they give you techniques for writing, how to do better research, how to do better essays. They're helping me do better pitch presentations for business, for example. SSO, right? Student success. They want to share those resources and make sure students are successful through their academic journey. Moving forward towards in-class resources, obviously we have our instructors. Our instructors are extremely nice, as you all know, and they all want students to succeed. Just because the work is hard doesn't mean that they don't want you to succeed, but they all then have office hours, and we really encourage our students to use those office hours. There's nothing worse than having a student say, I don't even understand the assignment. I don't get it, so I'm not going to do it. That's the worst, because they could just ask their instructor. And it might be that they don't know that. It might be that they're apprehensive. I think those are key pieces. Obviously, there's you that they can ask questions. There's also the peer leaders, right? You all remember peer leaders. And so our peer leaders are there to help guide as well. But they do that more in a broad method, right? They're there for events and making sure that students feel engaged, that they're able to have those speaking one-on-one sessions. You as mentors are really there to push them towards different resources, and to help them through the base program. So yeah, a lot of great resources there. I will be taking all of those and putting them into an email a little bit later. Okay, great. So more about your mentees. So the mentee assignment, I already mentioned this a little bit, but there's 2 match criterias that we're using right now. So they both kind of have equal weight, but I tried to match you based on where your mentee is living, so their time zone, and the faculty. So if your mentee lived in Toronto and they're in the engineering faculty, well, then I tried to pair it with someone who, for example, is in engineering and is at Waterloo, right? That makes it easy because you're in the same time zone. You can chat at appropriate times in the day. Someone's not chatting at 3 a.m. or something, and you have something to speak about. I did get a few requests about students wanting to mix and match programs, and so that was able to work. And in some cases, though, the time zone match or the faculty match was not possible. I did try and push it more towards the time zone match because I feel it's a lot easier to work with a student at the proper time of day, but I did make it so that similar faculties were paired with similar faculties. So for example, engineering and sciences share some courses, environment, AHS, arts, those kind of all commingled a little bit as well. So hopefully you'll have something to talk about with your mentor. I think you will. But just in case, if you're not quite in the same faculty, for example, there's lots to talk about. Those resources, just the base courses in general, your experiences, there's tons to talk about. All right, how do you connect with your students? So there's a lot of ways. The feedback that we got was that it was best to speak with your mentee in video chat, which is also why we tried to have the time zone. So whatever video chat you want to use, whether that's Google Hangouts, Zoom like us, WebEx, whatever, something else. I don't know, don't use Bongo. Lots of different options. But you can also use all the social media chats, so WeChat and WhatsApp. At this time, I'm recommending that you don't meet in person just because of the COVID implications. It's just safer for everybody at this time, but hopefully in the future that our mentors can meet in person. Another piece that I will be doing is inviting you all to the WhatsApp and WeChat groups for our base students. So that way you can just be in the main area, like the main chat group. And you'll also be able to see the postings from Ryan, myself, and the peer leaders to know what's going on in the term in terms of events. In the email, in the informational email I'll be sharing to you, I'll be sending out the events calendar. So you'll be able to attend any of the events with your mentees or alone and just get to know more of the base students. I know some of you are really interested in that. Any way that you want to be included in our ELI programming, you are more than welcome. Just let us know if something's missing. All right, so getting to know the mentees, here's the breakdown that we saw. So as you can see, it's fairly even this term, which is kind of nice. So we had about a quarter science, a quarter arts, engineering, AHS, and environment were a little bit less, but overall, it's pretty good. Yeah, there we go. So moving on to some of the cross-cultural awareness pieces. This is really important, so I want you to make sure that you are listening to this one especially. So your mentees are in a completely new environment. Normally in base, they would be on campus. Here they're online, and that has additional struggles, as you may know. When you're in an online environment, especially one that's not in your native language, that's in different time zones, there's connectivity issues. I think you've all probably experienced something similar to this. It's frustrating, isn't it? Not only frustrating, but it's also kind of lonely. I mean, if you're on a computer all day, you're staring at a green dot at the top of your camera lens, and it's just kind of you in your room speaking alone. And that can be, that can wear on a student, right? That can create a whole bunch of emotional issues. It can make them feel alone and isolated. And that's a bit why we're doing this mentor program as well, to show them that they're not alone, that there's someone there that's gone through a similar experience that can help them through these, can show them that, yes, you got to just keep going. You got to push through this little hump that we call COVID and get through it, right? So I want you all to make sure that you're practicing a few skills, practicing patience, right? If you're speaking in English to your mentee, which please do, even if you are from the same country. I mean, it's okay here and there to, you know, casually speak in your similar language if that's the case, but English is preferred just to help them out. And, you know, just to keep fortifying and reinforcing their English language learning. And because of that, their responses may be slower. They may be taking a lot of time to think. So there might be long pauses. They might be saying things incorrectly, right? But hopefully you guys can manage that communication as best as possible. I really want you to practice active listening, right? So active listening is not just having their words spill over you, right? It's thinking about the words that they're saying. It's thinking about the meaning behind them and how you can help them with whatever issue they're talking about, right? And through that, we want you to share your experience. I've mentioned that a few times, but pretty much at this point of time, all you can do is share your experience. So whether that's how you managed your time, how you studied, how you met friends, how you went to events, anything that you can share will really help them out. As we know, Renison is a global society, as is UW, and so we have different cultural expressions, right? So you might be with someone who is a completely different culture than your own. So that might mean that when you're speaking to them, they don't smile. They speak like this. And so you might feel like, oh, are they pissed off at me? Like, what's going on? They might not wave. They might, you know, I don't know. Thumbs up might not be a good sign for them. I don't know, whatever it is. Just be aware that there are different cultural expressions. Try not to take things personally, but also I want you to kind of push forward that Renison message, the one sky overall, that in the world, we all have the same sky above us. We are all on the same planet in the same journey. And so just spread happiness, smile while you're talking, engage them, make them feel good, help them succeed. That's why you're here. A little bit about academic integrity quickly. As you know, you've all taken BASE or IBASE, and some of the assignments may be similar. I'm not sure how often instructors change up their assignments or activities or worksheets, but don't share your homework, your old homework or your old assignments. Don't give out any answers, right? You as UW students are bound by academic integrity. And for example, if you did share an old assignment with a BASE student and they were caught, you would also be caught, and that would go against you in your UW record. You could face some sort of reprimand there. So just be careful. So it's just wise if you want to help them. I know people are saying they were tutors or something. That's different, but don't share your assignments or homework. I don't think any of you will, but just to let you know. Okay. Here we are, almost at the end. So the schedule finalization and group chat. So you'll be paired with your mentor on September 9th, which is tomorrow. And I would love for you to reach out to them as soon as possible. They just finished their orientation today, so they're extremely excited to start their classes. And I think it would be great for them to be able to start their first week and have their mentor there as well. So they'll be getting an email a little later today or early tomorrow, letting them know that they have a mentor, that they've been paired, and that you'll be reaching out to them shortly. Now, something that is new this term, so this is going to be an experiment for me. I'm hoping that it works, but there was a lot of feedback from our iBase mentors that they had wished there was some way for all the mentors to speak with each other, kind of in a private group chat. So because of that, I am going to be setting up a Microsoft Teams mentor chat. So this will be with all the mentors, not for mentees, just for mentors. And it's a way for all of us to get into one place and speak with each other, whether you want to share tips and tricks, whether there's an experience you want to share, a story, right? Maybe you had like a breakthrough with your mentee and you want to share a beautiful story or something like that. But it's also a really super fast way to get a hold of me. You can just tag me in that and I'll hopefully respond right away if there's an issue. Of course, you can email me confidentially if something else arises, but just for like super quick questions, I think Microsoft Teams could work really well. I believe everyone will be able to access Microsoft Teams as well. That was a key feature. Not everyone has WeChat, not everyone has WhatsApp, but as a UW student, you have access to Microsoft Teams for free, as well as all the other Microsoft suite. So if you didn't know that, you do get it for free. I hope you use that. You get like 5 terabytes of cloud storage, which is great. So yeah, I'll be sending that invite a little later and hopefully that works out. I'm excited to see and excited to chat with you, share more stories, just get to know you more personally. I think that'd be really cool. All right. Are there any questions? You can ask those questions in the chat. I'll just wait here for maybe like five or so minutes. But yeah, any questions, throw them in the chat right now. I'll answer them right away, of course. And if there's something that you think about later, you can definitely email me. My email is right there on the screen. And later, of course, you'll be able to reach me in the Microsoft chat. So I'm just gonna wait a few moments here for questions to come in. So in that case, if there's no questions or anything, then just know that you will get your pairing tomorrow at some point. And in that pairing, you will learn a little bit about your mentee, so their name, their preferred name, their email that we have on file, and the note that they wrote, because each mentee said they had about 250 words saying, why would you like a mentor? What are you hoping to learn? And so that gives you kind of a jumping off place to start talking with your mentee. All right, so that concludes our training. That was nice and quick, under 40 minutes, which is lovely. Like I said, I'm here to answer any questions you might have, but otherwise, this concludes our base mentor training. Thank you so much for joining us this morning or this evening, wherever you are. I really appreciate your time, and I'm hoping for a wonderful term. Thank you very much.